This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes.
And I'm Anthony Germain. Dire predictions for unreliable power here on the island should the Muskrat Falls transmission line fail.
Now, the problem lies in the backup plan relying on power from Nova Scotia. Here and Now, Cease Hare has that story.
Here's the plan. When Muskrat Falls is fully online, the Holyrood generating plant will be shut down. But what if there's a failure on that line from Labrador and we don't have enough power? The former chair of the PUB says currently we cannot rely on Nova Scotia for backup.
There's no agreement with Emera to supply this 300 megawatts of backup power. They have had no discussions with Emera with respect to the provision of that power in the event of an extended outage. It gets worse. Not only that, but even if they had it, we don't have the transmission capacity to get it into the Avalon Peninsula where your population and your demand is concentrated.
Andy Wells says consumers were deceived when given the impression 300 megawatts of emergency power would be imported from Nova Scotia in the event of an extended outage on the Labrador link during the winter when demand is highest.
So, I mean, we may be stranded. Look, if you wanted to deliberately, as we said when I started, if you wanted to deliberately to blow $14 billion, wreck your power system, wreck your economy, these characters could not have done a better job.
It's like the whole Muskrat Falls plan was done almost on the back of an envelope.
Consumer advocate Dennis Brown says the unreliability of Nova Scotia Power will likely mean building new gas turbines in Holyrood. And not only will that be expensive, he says, it goes against a touted objective of the Muskrat project, clean energy.
And some of these gas turbines, you can get them up to 64, 70 megawatts. They cost about 150, 160 million each. We will have to fuel those. So we're right back to where we started.
In a statement, the Minister of Natural Resources, Siobhan Cody, says there is an agreement in place between Newfoundland and Nova Scotia to provide 100 megawatts if it's available. The statement does not have details on just how it would get that energy to the Avalon. In the meantime, the reliability and adequacy of this province's energy system is being reviewed by the Public Utilities Board. Cease Hare, CBC News, St. John's.
To a developing story now. It's still not quite clear what happened, but 4 people were taken to hospital after an accident involving the railway line near Labrador City. The 4 are employees of the Iron Ore Company of Canada. Now, it happened shortly after 10 o'clock this morning. Labrador City Fire and Ambulance Services responded and the employees were taken to the Labrador West Healthcare Centre. Police closed a portion of the Trans-Labrador Highway between Labrador City and Churchill Falls. IOC says all railway traffic has been suspended until further notice.
Well, just like the fire department, when a call comes in, the Coast Guard answers. But the team in Mount Pearl isn't battling blazes, they're cleaning up oil spills. And they have some new equipment to do just that. Here Now's Ryan Cook reports.
Okay, so what we have here, Ryan, this is called a Triton RBS 60.
This rig literally eats oil. It's a skimmer, light enough to sit on top of the water, and in rare conditions, suck up as much as 63,000 liters of oil per hour. The Coast Guard's environmental response team in Mount Pearl now has 9 of these.
These brushes here, in this case, collect the oil. The oil sticks to it and water doesn't. That's the oleophilic principle.
The skimmer will be used for an inshore oil spill like this, and with roughly 100 calls a year to help clean up pollution, the team will need them. They handle operations around the North Atlantic from this warehouse in Donovan's Industrial Park, 36,000 square feet filled with equipment. They also do training. Today's group features members of the Offshore Petroleum Board and scientists, giving people who work in offices some insight into how spills are cleaned. Across the country, DFO and the Coast Guard are getting upgrades after a $1.5 billion initiative by the federal government a few years ago.
The biggest thing for me is to see the revitalization and the modernization, new people, new equipment, new training. It's very exciting to be part of Coast Guard these days.
The Mount Pearl team has doubled in 2 years, now at 22 full-time employees. Some headed offshore this morning to keep watch as Husky starts the 4-day process to reconnect the sea rows. The first solid stretch of good weather forecast in the 4 months since it spilled 250,000 litres of oil into the North Atlantic.
We'll be helping out the Offshore Petroleum Board in the days to come when they're working at the fix the subsea, fix at the sea rows. We'll have people that are out there on behalf of the Offshore Petroleum Board and the vessel, as well as in the sky and surveillance plane.
When the next call comes, these are the people that will scurry off to help mitigate and clean up, with 9 new tools to help out. Ryan Cook, CBC News, Mount Pearl.
Well, it's supper time here at Memorial University, and lots of students are coming in and out of our Gushu Hall, but not all of them are happy with what they're being served. We're going to hear from one upset student who started a petition. That story coming up.
Well, you're looking at a live shot of the St. John's Harbor. Another beautiful day today. Those temperatures not too bad across most of the province. If we take a look at those, sitting around 1 degree, hit to about 3 for St. Lawrence, 2 for Terra Nova, and then temperatures quite mild up through Labrador as well, sitting around -3 for Happy Valley Goose Bay, Lab City sitting at -5 right now. Now, it was nice because we weren't feeling those winds. This is what we saw as far as wind gusts go. So not a whole lot happening on that map. These gusts were actually earlier this morning, and we're going to continue to see these light winds as we head through the overnight tonight. And if we take a look at what's expected, those clouds that we're seeing right now should move out of the way tonight. Tomorrow looks absolutely beautiful yet again. We could see a few onshore flurries again for the west coast, maybe towards central as well, but Labrador looks really quiet. So I'll have all those details, your full forecast, because the next weather maker moves in just in time for the weekend, but with that, a big warm push of air. So I'll have all those details coming up. Anthony?
Thanks, Ashley. A Newfoundland and Labrador eye doctor is calling on the provincial government to keep its promise to allow publicly insured cataract surgery in private clinics. In late January, Health Minister John Haggie said the province had changed its position on private clinics and would allow patients to have publicly funded cataract surgery at private clinics like this one that you're seeing. Ophthalmologist Chris Jackman urges the province to make good on that promise and help reduce wait times.
Some of the most difficult conversations I have with patients are regarding how long they have to wait for surgery, and it's very unfortunate when you feel as though your hands are tied. And I believe now if we can kind of move forward, we'll be able to untie those hands and be able to have patients to have surgery in a quick and timely fashion, as they should be able to.
Well, today at the House of Assembly, Health Minister John Haggie said the change should come later this year.
I'm hopeful that we can get it done within months. The time issue relates to the committee work by the NLMA and their staff as well, so it's not entirely within my control.
Well, the man accused of killing Chantel John this past January is facing more charges, including attempted murder. 35-year-old Kirk Keeping was charged with murdering his ex-partner in Conn River. John was killed in what the Mi'kmaq First Nation calls a horrible act of violence. Keeping appeared in court by video link today and was told he's facing 3 more charges, including attempted murder of a second Conn River woman. The judge says that charge stems from an incident that happened on the same day John was killed. Keeping is also charged with failure to comply with a condition of an undertaking and failure to comply with a probation order. Well, at the Graham Vitch trial in St. John's today, the Crown played a video of the accused man's interview with police. The 21-year-old admits to killing his mother's partner, David Collins, in 2016, but he's pleading not guilty because of a mental disorder. In the video, Vitch tells police Collins was a threat to his family and that he didn't plan to kill him. Vitch also tells police he remembers parts of the evening, then contradicts himself and says he remembers nothing. When he's left alone in the interview room, he does push-ups and sit-ups. He takes off his clothes and then puts them back on again. The second-degree murder trial continues tomorrow. Well, police arrested a man who's protesting outside Her Majesty's Penitentiary in St. John's this morning.
I know, we'll get it to just stay cool.
Mike Williams is a former inmate who says conditions inside the prison are inhumane. He and a couple of other protesters have been demonstrating for the past week. This morning, he was arrested on Forest Road outside HMP. This video was streamed live on Williams' YouTube account. The RNC says the investigation is ongoing, but wouldn't say why Williams was detained.
Well, as Here and Now told you last week, this province still hasn't made a move to ban plastic bags after 3 long years and various consultations. When I asked Environment Minister Graham Leto to explain the holdup, here's what he had to say.
There's only one other province in Canada that has done this, and that's Prince Edward Island. They brought in a ban, and
there are different municipalities in the country that have done
the different municipalities, but the only provincial ban, full provincial ban, is PEI. They've learned from their implementation that they did it too quickly. They're having issues now because, and the feedback that they're getting is that they did not do enough consultation.
Well, I put that to Prince Edward Island's Environment Minister today, and here's what he had to say to Graham Leto.
My advice to the minister in Newfoundland is do the right thing, ban single-use plastic bags. You will have your population on side, and the business community will follow you.
And my full interview with PEI's Richard Brown is coming up in about 30 minutes.
Well, relocating the top civil servant cost government top dollar, according to the Tories. In question period today, they brought up what they call exorbitant moving expenses. Here and Now's Katie Breen joins us now in studio. So, Katie, what is government saying?
Well, moving Anne-Marie Hann from Alberta to St. John's cost roughly $64,000, according to an ATIP filed by the PCs. The breakdown of expenses shows the province paid nearly $19,000 for temporary living expenses while she got settled away. In 2017, Hann was hired on as the Clerk of Executive Council, the province's highest civil servant. Government today said $64,000 is high, but worth it.
There are often special circumstances that are approved through Treasury Board. And I mean, that's been the practice for decades in the province. If you find somebody highly qualified, somebody with the experience that Ms. Hann has, and they're sought out by the province, you know, these situations are approved through Treasury Board.
Now, Hann is no longer in the position that she was brought in to do. She worked at the top civil servant for about 2 years. Now she's undertaking a review of the waste management in the province. So the PCs are asking if that moving cost was really worth it.
Moving out of the clerk's position, which is a extremely professional, high-level position within government that you would have to recruit for, to a position now that I'm convinced there has to be other people in Newfoundland and Labrador who could easily do that under the waste management review, to still be on the hook and responsible for that $65,000 sort of makes it, a little bit questionable as to why you went that route.
The Tories would like to evaluate Hann's contract to see if she should be made to pay any of her relocation expenses back. Anthony?
All right, Katie, appreciate that. Katie Breen, of course. Now, in other news, international news having to do with flight safety, Canada has banned Boeing 737 MAX 8 and MAX 9 models from its airspace, this following Sunday's Ethiopia Airlines crash.
Canadians expect and are entitled to a safe transportation system today and for the future. I want them to be able to fly with confidence.
Well, Transport Minister Marc Garneau based his decision on satellite data that suggested similarities with the crash of another MAX 8 last October in Indonesia. The United States, the UK, and other countries have also banned the planes. Air Canada, WestJet, and Sunwing have a combined total of 41 MAX 8s. All say that they're trying to work now to get customers booked on other flights.
Back in this province, Rovers Search and Rescue unveiled a new $80,000 drone today, which will dramatically enhance how the group searches for missing people. The drone will give rescuers a bird's-eye view of a search area, and an infrared camera will allow them to continue searching at night. The drone has the added benefit of being quiet. Oftentimes, Rovers teams are searching for children or vulnerable people, like people with Alzheimer's or autism, who might be frightened by loud helicopters.
Dealing with vulnerable people, it showed us that we need to be a lot quieter in some stuff we're doing. It's just another tool in our toolbox, but when you're looking for different people, You bring in big helicopters and all this type of stuff. It drives them to the ground and hide on us. So this is stuff now that they can fly over their head, zoom in on them. They won't even know we're there.
A food fight is brewing at Memorial University. Complaints about undercooked chicken at the residence dining hall have surfaced online, and now one student is circulating a petition to try to make things change. Here now's Jeremy Eaton has been digging into this story, so to speak, and he joins us live from the Argushu dining hall. So Jeremy, what can you tell us?
Well, nobody's coming in right now, of course, because we're live, but students have been coming in and out of the dining hall here, getting ready to eat some supper. But some students aren't happy with they're being served. They say the food here, well, it's a little tough to stomach.
Well, the first time that I ever eaten there, the first thing that my friend told me was that you're probably going to throw up when you get back to your room. That's the first thing someone said to me, so it was very discouraging the first time.
First-year student Justin Thomas hasn't given Aramac a 5-star review on what's being dished out here.
They had chicken a few weeks ago, and it was I found it was bleeding a lot and seemed undercooked, so I really didn't eat it.
He noticed other students have similar stories, and then people started sharing pictures online.
Got fed up with it because it's not just a one-time issue. This is ongoing.
University staff noticed the social media posts and started looking into the issues. But other than online complaints, it hasn't heard much from students.
Every house has a student rep on a committee where they meet directly with Aramark, our food service provider, and Memorial Administration. There's also Aramark staff that are in the dining hall that students can reach out to at any time.
It's not the first time there's been ingestion issues here. Back in 2015, undercooked food upset stomachs and made headlines in the province.
There were new processes put in place at that time to ensure that everything was meeting the highest standards of food quality. The issues that we heard about this time around were a little bit more related to food quality as opposed to food safety.
So far, students have found moldy bread, chicken cartilage in soup, and undercooked chicken, complaints that forced Thomas to cook up some action.
I started a petition that currently has over 1,000 signatures. I'm trying to just get some attention to review what's going on, to hold Aramark to a higher standard of what they're doing, right?
The university will continue to work closely with Aramark, our food service provider, to make sure that all of the processes are up to date and are working appropriately and to take action wherever necessary. Food quality is very important. Food safety is extremely important.
So a lot of the students who are coming out here say that they're not happy with the food they're being served, but some just stopped us to tell us that they actually love the food we're getting here. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag out here. But Thomas says a lot of students like himself can't afford to eat anywhere else, so they're forced to go back into the dining hall. But he's hopeful by speaking out and by starting this petition that the food here will get better and maybe even a little easier to swallow. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Jeremy Eaton in St. John's.
When we look at the reporting stats, it does identify as one of the key places where there is absolutely an overrepresentation of individuals who've experienced sexual violence.
Navigating the legal system isn't easy.
Tonight, making the court system a little less intimidating for those victims.
Update is brought to you by 811 Healthline. Medical advice, health information, mental health, and healthy eating. Dial 811. It's free and confidential.
Another great day in terms of the wind. Actually went to Confederation Building for the House of Assembly proceedings. No coat today, which is pretty rare in these parts, and that's really windy up there, as you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So
You always say
great day.
Yeah. Not quite as nice as yesterday, but still, I'll take this for sure.
Temperatures weren't really that bad. I mean, they were a couple degrees cooler than what we saw yesterday for parts, especially the eastern portion of the province. But taking a look at the highs, just in case you missed them a little bit earlier, sitting between 0 and 1 degree for the most part. St. Lawrence was the warm spot at 3 degrees. And then up through Labrador, chilly, or rather warm as well, sitting around -5 for Lab City. Nain sitting at -8. And right now, similar temperatures. So we've dropped a couple of degrees up through the northern portion of Labrador. Otherwise, those temperatures are still hovering between 0 and 1 degree. And as we head through the overnight, those temperatures will drop. And that's because we're going to start to see some clearing skies, which is certainly good news. So looking at the satellite right now, you can see not a whole lot going on. No major weather systems affecting the province, which is why those skies are generally, we're not seeing too much in the way of precipitation. Just the chance of a few flurries overnight tonight for parts of Labrador. Otherwise, most of the island should actually clear out tonight, and then heading through the day tomorrow, nothing really on the map either. So that's certainly good news there. But here's a look at your lows tonight. Dipping down, especially in lower lying areas, probably a couple degrees cooler than this. Grand Falls, Windsor should go down to -11 tonight. Port aux Basques -8. And then St. John's hovering around -5. Those winds generally light, around 15 kilometers per hour right across the board, with that slight chance of a few flurries. But then again, everything should clear out through the overnight tonight. And then up through Labrador, -18 in Nain tonight, -15 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, with generally clear skies. And then for Lab City, we're sitting at about -11 with that potential for a few flurries. And then again, those winds will be light pretty much everywhere. And then looking at the future tracker tomorrow, other than the potential for a few afternoon flurries along the west coast and then maybe towards central as we start to see some cloud cover push in, tomorrow looks beautiful again. So a mix of sun and cloud through the afternoon for the most part. Maybe see some flurries down through the southeastern portion of Labrador. But then again, the next system starts to make its way in overnight through Friday morning, and that's when Lab City will start to see some snow move in. So here's a look at your forecast for tomorrow. Marystown looks nice, sitting around 1 degree tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud. Same for most of the Avalon, between 3, maybe 4 degrees, could reach maybe as much as 5 degrees when that sun peaks out. Clarenville sitting around 1. Those winds generally light, maybe west winds around 20 kilometers per hour at times. I have a chance of a few flurries in for as far east as Gander tomorrow, 1 degree on the plus side of the mercury. Twillingate sitting at the same temperature. And then again, along the west coast, we are looking at that potential for a few onshore flurries. Southwest winds near 30 kilometers to, or rather 20 kilometers per hour tomorrow. Favorite sitting around 1 degree. -2 for St. Anthony, so sitting a little bit below 0. Cartwright with that potential for flurries as well, and -3. Northwest winds generally between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. And then up through Labrador City, flurries in the forecast, but not till we head towards the early morning hours. That's when that next system rolls in. And then Nain sitting around -8 tomorrow, and plenty of sunshine. Now, taking a look at the forecast ahead, the next 24 hours may be quiet, but we do have a special weather statement in place. This is because we're going to see these warmer temperatures, some heavy rain as well, but I'll have all those details coming up. Carolyn?
Thank you, Ashley. Well, for survivors of sexual violence, navigating the legal system is no easy task, especially in remote regions where there's a lack of legal resources. The Journey Project is in Labrador this week, offering legal clinics and support for anyone who has experienced sexual violence. Jacob Barker has that story.
So this is kind of a how-to guide.
The Journey Project is based in St. John's, but aims to get out into remote areas. In Labrador, the need is clear.
So when we look at the reporting stats, it does identify as one of the key places where there is absolutely an overrepresentation of individuals who've experienced sexual violence.
This week, the project was in central Labrador, holding a number of clinics. The aim is to get resources and support to anyone who is considering going through or that has been through the justice system.
What's important to us is going to communities that may not have many lawyers or options or resources around the justice system, whether it's looking for legal information, looking for emotional support while they're going through it, or legal advice.
The Mokami Status of Women's Council hosted the Journey Project in a region where access to legal resources is scarce. Removing barriers for people is important. The organization tried to remove as many as they could so women could attend the session here.
When you're trying to make the decisions between putting food on the table and seeking legal services, they're both super crucial, so it's important to work within the boundaries that women have and make these things super accessible for them.
Vickers says there are overlapping issues and complexities when it comes to dealing with the crimes happening in Labrador.
We see that there's violence in so many different ways, that it's not just always intimate partner violence, but because of overcrowding, there could be violence in the home from other individuals.
She would like to see more legal resources like this in Labrador.
So having something like this that is free, that's accessible, that's not going to add another burden, is just going to open up the doors to many different possibilities for women to straighten out whatever legal issues that they have at the time.
The Journey Project's resources are open to anybody dealing with sexual violence, and organizers say the idea is never to advise about having to report sexual crimes, but rather give people the tools to make the best decisions of how to deal with their situations. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
I think I'm pretty resilient. I think that's pretty easy to say.
Her name is Sydney Learning, and this is her story.
Tonight, the latest in our series, where we go back and check in with people whose stories of struggle have struck a chord with many of you, and we find out how they're doing today. Well, we first met the courageous Sydney Learning back in 2006. It was on her 17th birthday. The teenager from Labrador had to have her left leg amputated after she developed what's commonly called flesh-eating disease. And CBC News spoke to Learning again 3 years ago. And not only was she dealing with the challenges of being an amputee, she was also juggling the life of being a single mom. And tonight, in the final episode of our series, This Is My Story, we're visiting Learning again. And this time, it's to see what life is like now for her and her daughter. But first, a reminder of when we last spoke with her.
I think I'm pretty resilient. I think that's pretty easy to say, but through my circumstances that's been thrown at me, I think I just had to keep going anyway. I think you'd strive just the best for your child, as any mom would. And whether that be you're in a wheelchair or whatever, and you find at the end of the day, you find a way to do that. You find a way to get to the store. You find a way to get the milk. You find a way, just like any other mom would do. And I think that's where we're all similar, because it's your love for your child and keeps you going. Hey, baby.
So that was Sydney Learning in a CBC News feature 2 years ago. Well, a lot has changed since then. Not only is her daughter Royal now 4 years old, but Sydney is also on a career path and set to graduate from Kean College this spring. Well, here's her segment of This Is My Story.
I was just 15. My kidneys failed. I spent 2 weeks in a coma. It didn't look good. I flatlined, I believe it was 3 times. I'm Sydney. I lost my leg at 15 to necrotizing fasciitis. This is my story. I was just scared that I was going to die, because I knew how sick I was, and as soon as the doctor saw me here in St. John's, it was a case of necrotizing fasciitis, which is flesh-eating disease. So they went in to amputate immediately, because it's life over limb. My parents were told to make the funeral arrangements. Yeah, they told them that I wasn't going to make it through that night. I remember in the night times when I was still in the hospital after I got out of the ICU, I was too scared to sleep some nights. I was scared I was going to die, right? Yeah. I remember my dad, he used to tell me that he never gave up, you know, and he kept the journal every night and things like that. And I remember everyone from home and Cartwright telling me, like, even after, like letters from school that they were sending in, like how scared they were, and like I'm just so glad you're okay, because I was just 15. I ended up staying here in St. John's after the fact. I had to be here. There was absolutely no way I could go home and get the care that I needed home in Cartwright, and even in Goose Bay, like as well as they have it, but I needed to be at the Miller Center. Hey, you gonna help Mommy? You wanna get the chair? Yeah, it took me a few years of practice to learn how to balance properly without even the need of the crutches. Yummy. Oh, it looks so good. I think it was just acquired over time, and learning how to trust your body, and, you know, because you lean certain ways or whatever, and you're reaching for things, so. Helper? Now, I don't even know. I don't even notice it. Like, it's like second nature, I guess. Helper, remember?
All right, come on.
Snow in the winter. With the crutches, I find it's a real challenge in those instances that, you know, we're after having a snowfall. It's like, I gotta get up at 5 o'clock to start shoveling the walkway, because, I mean, you know, we got commitments. I gotta be at school, she has daycare. And even that, you know, and having her come outside with me, she has a pink shovel, because she knows she's gonna help her mom.
Good job, woo! Here, want some?
Rebecca's car.
So like when we're walking out in the snow, like we're side by side, or she'll put her hand right here, and it's pretty sweet. We're like a little team. I really love being a mom so much, and I think in my earlier years, you know, I had a lot of loneliness and questioning if I would have a family. I think that's why I'm so grateful now, because I do have my own, and in those years that I was separated from my family, and, you know, it's really hard on me as well. So now I have my own family that's not going anywhere, that stability piece. That for me is...
Love you, have a good day.
It's wonderful. my mom, and my dad. He'll never be okay. I'll always miss him every day of my life. Every day of my life. My dad was probably my biggest supporter. He's the reason that I am as strong as I am. I'm so fortunate that he was my dad, and he was such a great grandfather, and he was a real man of the land. I spent a few years in a real not self-loving place. I was really down with myself, like as a woman, like, you know, I didn't really have to accept this new, you know, life that I had to, you know, really accept, because it's a new life, it's a new way of living, like, I mean, as a disabled person. So, and I was really struggling with how other people saw me. So it wasn't until in my older age, is like after 24 really, that I really had this kind of internal wake up, that I was like, you know what, I kind of deserve to be here and to have every opportunity to live my life just like anybody else. And I think even more so having a daughter, I really grew as a person. I really, you know, I was like, I deserve every opportunity, and I'm, you know, I think I'm pretty great sometimes, you know, like I really think I grew from then to now, and I'm more accepting, I'm more loving, and I'm more open, and I'm really happy. When I started dental assisting at Keene, my biggest thing was being like, I'm just worried if I can carry the tray from here to there. I'm really grateful. The amount of respect that I get at that school, I mean, full on inclusive. Any adaptations that needed to be made, even when I went on my first work term, like they were talked about, my fears were met before I went on work term, so there was no unanswered anything, because it's new to them, obviously new to me, but we're going to be successful. I'm going to be a great dental assistant. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Actually, one of the first that's going to be graduating through the program, Newfoundland and Labrador, that's an amputee. I'm really happy of where I'm to right now. Like, the past, it did happen, and it was a horrible illness that happened, and nobody should have to go through that, but it did happen, and I'm learning to move forward, and I think we have really bright futures ahead of us now.
Well, that was the final episode of our series, This Is My Story. Producer Jen White joins me now. Jen, of course, worked on this. Who else worked on this series?
Well, I produced the series alongside videographer Sherry Vivian, and this series was actually her idea, Anthony. She thought it would be really nice to go back and check in with people who were previously featured on Here and Now. And of course, a big person who helped out with that, our senior librarian, Carolyn Atkinson. And she went back through our archives and helped us find all these people. And we also worked closely with cameraman Gary Quigley, who shot and edited the pieces.
So what was it like to work on this series?
Well, not to sound too sappy about it, Anthony, but it was pretty incredible just to see how open each person was, and about how they let the crew into their lives and into their homes, and talking about some really heavy, really emotional moments. And as a journalist, I know asking the hard questions, you're supposed to stay really objective, kind of like a stone. But during some of these interviews, there were some very personal, very touching moments. And I know that all three of us had to take a moment to clear the dust out of our eyes.
Okay, so this is the end of the series for now. It's kind of sad because it was really popular and the reaction from the audience was really good. People who missed it or want to rewatch, what can they do?
Like first, you said for now. We're gonna hope we're gonna say for now. So it's the end of this. This go of it. Right. But you can also see Sydney's story and all of the other segments from This Is My Story on our YouTube channel. So they're all posted on the main page there, and there are also features posted on our website at cbc.ca/NL. So at the bottom of Sydney's feature there are links to the other people who have appeared in the series, and I'll also post some links on social media later today.
Okay, well, Jen, thanks for this. I know it's been a success, and look forward to the next go.
Thanks, Anthony. And I did want to say a special thank you to the people who we featured. It was an absolute honor to be able to tell their stories.
The only provincial ban, full provincial ban, is PEI. They've learned from their implementation that they did it too quickly.
Not one bit of a regret. Matter of fact, I was at a home show this weekend and we passed out over 1,000 reusable bags, and the response from people coming up to the booth and talking to us is phenomenal.
Well, our province says PEI rushed the job. Newfoundland and Labrador delays with yet more consultations.
Why the wait to ban plastic bags? We hear PEI's success story ahead.
Welcome back to Here Now. When it comes to banning plastic bags, the provincial government is conducting more consultations. The Liberals first floated the idea 3 years ago, but Environment Minister Graham Leto announced last week that more consultations are required. And he pointed the finger at Prince Edward Island, saying that that province moved too fast. Now, we're going to head to Charlottetown in a moment to check in on that with the Liberal Environment Minister there. First, here's what Graham Leto, our Environment Minister, told reporters about banning the bag.
There's only one other province in Canada that has done this, and that's Prince Edward Island. They brought in a ban, and
there are different municipalities in the country that have done
the different municipalities, but the only provincial ban, full provincial ban, is PEI. They've learned from their implementation that they did it too quickly. They're having issues now because, and the feedback that they're getting is that they did not do enough consultation.
Well, joining me now is Prince Edward Island's Environment Minister, Richard Brown. Welcome to Here and Now.
Thank you very much for having me.
So your ban on plastic bags goes into effect in July. How are the preparations going?
The preparations are going good. We've been at a few home shows across Prince Edward Island, passing out reusable bags, and people are responding quite positively to this move of banning single-use plastic bags here in Prince Edward Island.
Right. Do you have any sense that your province moved too quickly to go with this ban?
No, definitely not. You know, there's been some polling done in Atlantic Canada, and all of Atlantic Canada, it's over 80% acceptance rate. So we're doing the right thing. Islanders want us to do the right thing, and Islanders are willing to participate if it means improving the environment.
Was there much of a backlash from the business community or people who rely on handing out bags to customers?
We are very, very happy with the response of our private sector here and our businesses here on Prince Edward Island. They know the ban is coming in. We've been meeting with them, and the companies have been getting their paper bag orders in, and they're all on board. You know, we hear some concerns, but we did do a 6-month delay for them in order for them to get ready for this, and they're stepping up to the plate. They know it's the right thing to do. People want it done. It's good for the environment.
Right. Now, here in Newfoundland and Labrador, we've been looking at this for the last 3 years, and our Environment Minister told us last week that Prince Edward Island had some regrets about perhaps acting on this ban so quickly. What, if any, regrets do you have?
Not one bit of a regret. Matter of fact, I was at a home show this weekend and we passed out over 1,000 reusable bags, and the response from people coming up to the booth and talking to us is phenomenal. Like I said again, look, people are watching television, people are watching international news. They're seeing plastic all in our oceans. They're seeing plastic destroying habitat. They're seeing plastic destroying habitat life. They are mad at what they see on the news, and they want changes, and we're providing the change for them.
So if I understand correctly, the island, your island, used annually 30 million bags, and now your big box stores, they've already started charging a few cents to discourage people. So it seems that things are on track for July, right?
Things are on track for July, and the big stores do not have to start charging for bags until December of this year. Gives them some leeway to get the use of bags out there. And again, the big box stores are on board. Again, our business community is on board. They know it's the right thing to do.
Right. Mr. Brown, what advice would you have for our Minister of Environment here in Newfoundland and Labrador?
My advice to the Minister in Newfoundland is do the right thing. Ban single-use plastic bags. You will have your population on side, and the business community will follow you.
Mr. Brown, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, there you go, Anthony. You certainly set the record straight on that one.
Interesting, both Liberal ministers of environment as well. Now, if you want to have your say in the government's latest round of consultation that we mentioned, your thoughts on banning plastic bags, you can go online.
Yeah, you can go to the government website, engagenl.ca. Well, now to Ottawa and a rocky meeting of the House of Commons Justice Committee today. Opposition MPs were pushing to have former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould testify there again. But just minutes after the meeting started, Liberal MPs shut it all down.
So, you should be ashamed of your... That being said, the motion is adopted. Meeting is adjourned.
They used their majority to postpone discussions until a private meeting next week. Opposition MPs are calling the move a disgrace. Wilson-Raybould quit federal cabinet last month. She says she was improperly pressured to call off a criminal prosecution of SNC-Lavalin. The Prime Minister's camp has denied the accusation, saying it's a misunderstanding.
Now, still in Ottawa, the federal government has introduced more measures to end abuse of amateur athletes by their coaches.
Sport is my life. My coaches were the best parts of my childhood, and sport was a safe place. It was my refuge, and I wish this were the case for all athletes.
Now, this move comes a month after CBC News and Sports revealed that at least 222 coaches have been convicted of sexual offenses over 20 years. Minister of Science and Sport Kirsty Duncan introduced a new independent investigation unit, and that's going to look into complaints of harassment, abuse, and discrimination in amateur sports. The minister also announced a national toll-free confidential helpline for victims and witnesses of abuse in sport.
This weather update is brought to you by Beltone, helping the world hear better.
Okay, so it's time to look ahead now in the forecast, and I guess we should enjoy all of this calm weather while we can.
Yeah, we should. And it's been a pretty decent stretch of calm, calm weather. But yeah, the next system is on the way. If we take a look at the setup right now, we've got our next weather maker is a nor'easter, and it's currently making its way over Kansas right now, and with that we are seeing blizzard conditions with this system, and out ahead of it this big push of warm air with it, and that's what's headed our way as we head into the day. Especially through Friday and certainly into Saturday. So if we take a look at that system starting to make its way in, it'll be snow for the most part for Labrador. And then here's that big push of warm air. It heads towards Newfoundland. And with that, we're going to see some pretty significant rainfall, especially for the southern portion of the island, and then for Burin Peninsula as well as the southern Avalon as we head through the day on Saturday. But here's a look at your forecast for Friday. Those temperatures up through Labrador, quite mild. 1 degree in Happy Valley Goose Bay, 2 for Lab City, which means that snow will transition to rain through the afternoon. Otherwise, for most of the island, those temperatures are going to be climbing into the single digits for the day on Friday, even more so as we head through the day on Saturday. But we could see either rain or snow in some places. It looks like the northern tip of the northern peninsula will likely see a snow transition to rain as we head through the day on Saturday. Otherwise, sunshine and warm for most of eastern Newfoundland to head into your weekend. So that doesn't look too bad there. So here's a look at that low pressure system, how big it is, and there's that warm air I was talking about. As it heads further east through the day on Saturday and into the evening and overnight, that's when we'll see the biggest push of warm air. So those temperatures likely between 7, maybe even 9 degrees as your afternoon high. Those temperatures will stay above 0 for most of the weekend, and with that rain, we could see some localized flooding, especially if we're seeing the heaviest rain through the overnight and into Sunday. That will eventually push off, but the system sticks around for a little bit. We'll start to see some colder air wrapping around again on Sunday, and then with that, those cooler temperatures will make their way in. It looks like it should be an all-snow event for most of Labrador, and then that onshore flurries again for the west coast, and that continues right through the day on Monday. These temperatures are actually going to dip quite significantly up through Labrador back into the -20, so a good 20 to 25 degree temperature difference by the time Saturday into Sunday, or rather Saturday into Monday rolls around. So here's a look at your forecast over the next 5 days for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. 3 to 7 degrees by the time Saturday rolls around, and then showers continuing on Sunday, but Monday dropping back down to 0 degrees. Now for central Newfoundland, similar temperatures with that rain, and then by Monday we're dipping back down below 0. So your overnight lows in the -teens by the end of the week, or rather by the beginning of next week. And then western Newfoundland, same thing, 5 degrees for Saturday, -4 for Monday, and then up through Labrador, we're looking at eastern Labrador between 1 and 5 degrees into Saturday. That is well above seasonal for this time of year. And then same thing for western Labrador. Those temperatures dipping though into the -20s by next week, as I mentioned. So just before we go to break, had to share the weather photo. Another beautiful day. Can imagine where that is.
Labrador?
Trees? Yeah, it's definitely
Has to be Labrador, the
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah. I'll tell you exactly where this was when we come back.
Welcome back. An artist originally from the Philippines has become one of Canada's top ice carvers.
I had a lot of awards in ice carving. First place in Edmonton, Alberta. Lake Louise, few first place also there. One in snow in Banff. Every winter I do this as a passion.
Well, Ross Bices can peer into a block of ice and see pictures. Then he grabs his tools and brings them to life. When he immigrated to Quebec from the Philippines a decade ago, he had no idea that ice would become his new muse.
Yeah, the Philippines not exactly known for big
No.
chunks of ice. So this all started when a casino actually hired this guy to create showpieces for buffet tables. Maybe no surprise that he's skilled at this because he's from a village famous for its woodworkers, and when you translate the name of that village is Chisel. So there you go. Look at the rope though on the cowboy there. That is
wow.
I don't even know how you do that.
I have done this before. I ice
Oh,
carved.
yes.
I did, not this.
Okay.
But it is a lot harder than it looks. Like it breaks so easily. Yeah.
I
and
bet.
the tools are. It's a lot of fun. I can. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
see Ashley's cowboy in the parking lot of the CBC tomorrow at 5.
I can show you what I made. It was fun. But here's a picture of our weather photo. Beautiful today. It was sent in from Lab West.
There it is.
Beautiful shot there. Thank you so much for sending that in, Mark. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Lovely. Well, that's it.
We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.